Brian. Brian is the most cultured, the most read, and he is a dog. And you see this dog having, these are kids in the room. These dog, how do I explain this? Okay, this dog does something with women. Okay? I can't use those specific words because there are 2 children in the room. So this dog does something with women. Okay? And you guys are all okay with it. You guys are all 2 generations later, and I'm telling you this, and I'm being very honest with you. 2 generations later, when you are all grandparents, your sons and your daughters could potentially be doing something with dogs. And that is how they get it into the society. You start watching, and this is literally what happens. People watch Family Guy, they don't know what they're doing. But it's only when I stopped watching it, I realized, and I wouldn't have never thought about it until they made fun of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and I said, okay, this is it. I mean, for God's sake. There are better programs out there. I can
So Hazrat Isa, you are referring to Jesus?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they made fun of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, then I stopped, I said, this is not on. There's another program, I hope they, How I Met Your Mother, I stopped watching that program, and the guy, what's his name? He keeps on saying, incredible, or what's his name? Barney. And Barney. He doesn't say incredible, what does he say? Amazing or something. He keeps on saying something like that. And he made a couple of very bad jokes about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. I said, I don't know when this guy finally meets his mother, How I Met Your Mother, but I think I should stop watching this program. And I need to say this because in a Muslim country, it is against the law. They don't care, I mean, if you're Muslim, I mean, of course, but even if you're not a Muslim, they don't care. In Muslim countries, you do not make fun of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. You do not make caricatures of him. You do not make vulgar jokes about him. Actually, you're thrown to jail. And that's why we tell A&M students, you'll be deported, like literally, as soon as you say something like that, the first thing you'll go to jail, the second thing is the US government will deport you out of there. You'll lose an entire semester. And that goes for all Muslim countries. In Pakistan, if you do that, you'll probably die before going to jail. Okay, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. That is how serious we are about it. And this goes not for just Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam, not for Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, for all the prophets of God. The prophets which include Moses, Adam, Ibrahim, David, Solomon, even Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam means peace and blessings be upon him. You just don't mock them. Even if you're ignorant, you're arrogant, whatever it is, you just don't make fun of these individuals. And this is something which is not at all present in the West. You can't make fun of, and this is why it's important. How old is your history? Just 400 years? That's it. You have this sense of not making fun of veterans, and yet you're so now elevated intellectuals that you can make fun of every Tom, Dick, and Harry in history that did ever something, and suddenly you're all enlightened. This is something important that has to be mentioned, and that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons also, we don't make pictures of either Hazrat Isa alayhi salam or Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam. We do have narrations of how they look like, but we don't really draw them. And that's why I should tell you, I don't know if you know this, in Muslim countries there were protests when they brought a movie about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. I don't remember the name of it. The Last
Temptation of Christ?
The Last Temptation of Christ. They had protests in Muslim countries because they thought that was blasphemous. Because that was disrespectful to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. They had Muslims were protesting. How dare these guys do this? How dare these guys do this? And that's why it's somehow it gets embedded in your system. It's how you refer to these individuals. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, that's exactly how you refer to them. The miracles of Jesus. Okay, before proceeding, I just realized it's 7. Do you have any questions? Yes.
can they have images? I might have missed that part.
Why do Muslims not have images of prophets? Okay, I should first tell you, for Muslims, they consider Jesus Christ as a prophet of God. They don't consider him God, yes.
Bilal, Renee is here and she wanted that, like, what is exactly the story of Jesus in Quran? Like, what the Quran say or Islam say?
Yeah, so
What
I
is
was
the story?
the story?
Like, what is written in Quran exactly about Jesus? Like, everything. Like, you
Okay, in the Quran,
explain in detail about Mary. So, what is...
Okay, let me first answer the first question. Let me try to explain both answers. In the Quran, okay, first of all, this lecture is only, it's not there, I'm going to tell you the whole story. I'm just going to try to tell you as much as I can in a 2-hour time frame or 1-hour time frame or 1.5-hour time frame. The rest, I would recommend you try to look at yourself. I'll try to cover as much as I can, but in a whole amazing way. You have no idea because, so let me, can I delay the answer to a little bit and come back here? Okay, and this is what I read. I have most of the important parts here. Allah the Almighty said, when Allah will say, O Jesus, son of Mary, remember my favor to you and to your mother when I supported you with Ruh al-Quddus. Ruh al-Quddus is Hazrat Jibreel al-Islam, the Archangel Jibreel. So that you spoke to the people in their cradle and in maturity, and when I taught you writing al-Hikam. Hikam is wisdom, it's knowledge, it's what wise people are. The Torah and the Gospel, and when you made out of clay, as it were, the figure of a bird, by my permission, and you breathed onto it, and it became a bird by my permission, and you healed those born blind and the lepers by my permission, and when you brought forth the dead by my permission. And when I restrained the children of Israel from you, because they wanted to kill you, since you came unto them with clear proofs, and disbelievers among them said, this is nothing but evident magic. And when I put in the hearts of the disciples to believe in me and my messenger, they said, we believe, and they gave witness, we are Muslims. So, I should tell you, the children of Israel didn't just try to kill Jesus Christ, they tried to kill many prophets before him. Jesus Christ was the one who they actually tried to kill many. Okay? So he wasn't the only one, they actually tried to kill many. And will make him a messenger to the children of Israel, saying, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord that I designed for you out of clay, as it were, the figure of a bird. Breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by Allah's name. And I heal those who are born blind and lepers, and I bring the dead to life by Allah's name. And I inform you of what you eat and what you store in your houses. Surely there is a sign of you if you believe, and I have come, confirming that which you before me for the Torah, and to make lawful to part of it that was forbidden to you. And I have come to you with proof from your Lord, so fear Allah, obey me, truly Allah is your Lord, my Lord, so worship him, this is a straight path. And it goes on. So, a couple of things. Muslim, if you're a Muslim, you have to, you have to believe in Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. I think I'm trying to make that clear. Okay, you have to believe in Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. Secondly, you have to believe in his virgin birth. That's an article of faith, you just have to believe it. That's it. And the way it's explained in the Quran is, as was explained earlier, that fayakulu kun fayakun. That Allah says, be and it is. It's easy for him. For anything for him to do, for God, for anything for Allah to do, he only has to say, be, and it becomes. So the birth of Jesus Christ having not a male father is not hard for Allah. He made Hazrat Adam alayhi salam without a father or a mother. Adam was made without a father or mother. Eve was made from Adam, which is from his limb. I mean, he didn't have even a mother. I mean, Eve didn't even have a mother. She didn't have a womb. She didn't have that biological system to have a child at least. He made Eve out of Adam. So he can make Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. All he has to say is kun fayakun, be, and it becomes. And as a Muslim, you have to believe in the miracle.
Or we should have a separate session for that.
I think this is almost about to finish, in fact. I'm almost about to finish.
Okay, so then we'll start the question.
Yes.
After 15 minutes.
Yeah, you should tell me in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, as a Muslim, you have to believe that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam was able to cure the born blind, to cure leprosy. What else was mentioned there? He spoke as a kid. He spoke as a child. You have to believe that. What else was mentioned there? The bird thing was mentioned. He made out of clay birds. He said something to it and the bird became alive. You have to believe in all these things. And you're not actually, let me put it this way. You are not a Muslim if you don't believe in these things. Okay, let me put it this way. It's not like you have to believe. You are not a Muslim if you don't believe in these things. That's how important it is for Muslims. You're not a Muslim if you don't believe Jesus was born with miraculously. You're not a Muslim if you do not believe that. That's how important it is for us. And Jesus' crucifixion, the big question. And I did tell you that Israelites did try to kill other prophets of God. Jesus was nothing different. They tried to kill him. What Jesus says about the Quran, Allah the Almighty declared, and because of their saying in both, we killed Messiah, son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. They killed him not, nor crucified him, but the resemblance of Jesus was in fact put over another man, and they killed that man. And those who differ in there are full of doubts, they have no knowledge, they will follow nothing but conjecture, for surely they killed him not, but Allah raised him up unto himself. Allah is ever all-powerful, all-wise. In fact, Muslims believe that Jesus did not die. He was raised into heaven. And somebody else of his resemblance, in fact, did die. And interestingly, Muslims have a big thing on the second coming of Jesus, the Antichrist, the Dajjal. There is a huge number of literature out there about the sayings of Prophet Muhammad when Hazrat Isa will come back again.
This is a very relevant question, Mandy. So you are saying that he was not crucified. It was someone else of his resemblance?
Yes, that's what the Quran says. That's what we believe. That's what the Quran says. That Jesus was not crucified, somebody of his resemblance was in fact died. He did in fact die, but Jesus was raised. Jesus did not die, but he will come back again. There's a whole story on, it gets interesting in fact. It becomes like a Hollywood movie later on. When you have the Antichrist coming up, and this Antichrist, this actual name for Antichrist is the Dajjal. So Muslims do believe in Antichrist being an actual individual. Muslims believe that Jesus Christ will come back again. Muslims believe that there will be a huge fight, and Dajjal is not an ordinary individual. In fact, the story of Dajjal is very interesting. There are narrations of that. It is only, and he would be so powerful, that only someone as extraordinary as Hazrat Isa will have to come down to kill him. The Antichrist, or what in the West is referred as the Antichrist or the Dajjal, is going to be somebody who's so, and there's a narration for that. And Muslims, you have to believe that. What about the next coming of Jesus? Narrated by Abu Huraira, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, sorry, I keep on repeating these words. I was nearest of all people to the son of Mary and the Prophet's paternal brother. They have been, okay, so let me put this one. On the night of the ascent to heaven, I saw Moses, who was a tall, brown, curly-haired man, as if he was one of the men of Shinar tribe. Shinar tribe is a local tribe, so it was easy for him to explain that using that amongst the Arabs. And I saw Jesus, a man of medium height and a moderate complexion, inclined to the red and white colors, and of lank hair. I saw Malik, the gatekeeper of hellfire and Ad-Dajjal, the Antichrist, amongst the signs which Allah showed me. So be in no doubt of meeting him when you meet Musa alayhi salam with the light of Miraj over the heavens. I think this is more important. This is Jesus, okay. Prophet mentioned the Messiah, Ad-Dajjal, in front of the people saying, Allah is not one-eyed, while Messiah, Ad-Dajjal, is blind by the right eye. His eye looks like a bulging out grape. While sleeping near the Kaaba last night, I saw in my dream a man, brown color, the best one can see, amongst brown color, and his hair was long and it fell between his shoulders. His hair was black and water was dripping from his head, and he was placing his hands on the shoulders of two men going around the Kaaba. I asked, who is this? They replied, this is Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus son of Mary. Behind him I saw a man who had very curly hair and was blind in the right eye, resembling Ibn Khatan. Ibn Khatan was a guy. He was placing his hands on the shoulders of a person while the walk performed, again going around the Kaaba. I asked, who is this? Is Messiah Ad-Dajjal. Muslims believe that when Antichrist is going to come, he is first going to say he is Jesus Christ. He's then going to say, I am God. A lot of people will follow him, and then eventually Hazrat Isa will have to come to get rid of this guy. There will be a massive war, and in fact, this is what Muslims believe, and there are narrations for that. Where our Prophet Muhammad did in fact prophesy the coming back of Jesus. Muslims, if Hazrat Isa comes back again, we have to follow him. There will be a big war, so Armageddon is, or whatever you want to call it, it's actually, it sounds interesting, it sounds sci-fi, and actually the narration goes that he would be brought from heaven by two angels onto a mosque in, where? Damascus. You see the situation in Damascus is hell.
Oh my God.
He would be brought by two angels on a masjid in Damascus. Okay, there are many fights going on in Damascus. Is that masjid still there? That masjid is still there. He would, and then he would, once he'll be on the ladder, on the top of that masjid, he's going to ask for a ladder to come down. And Muslims are going to say, for God's sake, you just came from heaven with two angels on this top. Why are you asking us for a ladder to bring you down here? Why don't you just come down? And then he'll say, actually, the rules of that world are different from this world, so I need a ladder. Okay. So he'll be brought down, and then the deaths, the war is going to be so bloody that Rasul mentioned that if a bird flies, Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad says that if a bird flies, that bird will get tired and fall down to the ground and die, but it will not find a place to sit on because it will be, the world will be covered with blood. And you can imagine that with atom bombs, it's not that hard to imagine now. Muslims actually, and Jesus Christ is considered a just ruler when he comes back. There is a difference though. The difference is when he comes. So from the time of Moses to the time of Jesus Christ, what was the law? What was the law?
Torah.
Torah. The law was the Torah. So what did David follow? Hazrat Dawud al-Islam. He followed the Torah. What did Solomon follow? Hazrat Salman al-Islam. He followed the Torah. All the way till Hazrat Isa al-Islam. Then they followed the Gospel. And then the Quran came. Quran, Muslims believe, is the last revelation. So when Hazrat Isa al-Islam is going to come back, he's going to follow the jurisdictions according to the Quran. He will be the ruler, and he'll be a just ruler. There will be stability in this world, to the fact that you will not find a single individual you could donate something to. There will be prosperity on earth, but you won't find a single person to donate something to. That is how just you will be. So in fact, that's the general, as a long story short, that's what Muslims believe. If you want to find out, please find out the rest of it yourself. I've tried to do justice with this topic. I've tried. There's a lot of narrations that have gone by. Now I'm open to go for questions. I would recommend just go hear the Quran in Arabic, read the Quran, read what Prophet Muhammad had to say about Jesus Christ married. Because when he comes back, that's a whole, that is a whole other story. And how that unfolds, what happens, That's a completely untold story. That's another story. And it gets interesting because Dajjal, well, he's an interesting fellow. So, because the story is not about Dajjal, it's not about Antichrist, it's about marrying Jesus, so I'll just read it to that. Do you have any questions? Umsia, why do you have a question?
You said that God would look like Isa. How would you be able to tell the difference?
Because Rasul said, oh yeah, that's interesting. Okay, the first thing is, I'm not a scholar of Islam. I think I should have mentioned that. Okay, I'm not a scholar of Islam. I'm not a scholar of anything very much, quite frankly. Okay, I have a good way of presenting myself. That's why universities hire me, and once they hire me, they want to get rid of me. Okay, so I just have a good way of presenting and making people believe I know something. So I'm an electrical engineer. Okay, I should say I'm an electrical engineer. I'm not a scholar of Islam. So one of the things which is interesting, and one of the reasons why Dajjal will be blind by one eye. And he would be blind by one eye, one of his eyes would be groping forward.
Dajjal or Antichrist? I would recommend you that use the
equivalent
because sometime I got
the Antichrist will have a bulging eye, will have curly hair, and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam is going to be like this beautiful, handsome guy. I mean, you can tell a handsome guy from somebody who's not handsome. Right? I mean, let's just keep it simple. Okay, this guy is going to be handsome, this guy not so handsome. So let's keep it in that. But if you go into narrations of Antichrist and you go into narrations of the second coming of Jesus, there are many details in there that you can check. There are many details in there. But there are many details in there. But the reason I'm avoiding going in there is because that will deviate us from the main topic. Because it's not about Antichrist, it's about Jesus and Antichrist. So that's why I'm trying to avoid it. Yes?
Will you guide the words that you use to give them respect before and afterwards?
Would you?
Can you guide them to see them
How we write them?
Yeah.
How do you write these words?
The question is how we write those words.
Hazrat. I think Hazrat.
Yeah.
Hazrat is the title of respect. That's how you write it. Isa is his name. Alay, him. How do I write Alay? Alay. This is Arabic. Alayhim salam. Alayhis salam.
In a lot of English translation of Islamic works, it's easier if they just put PBUH, peace be upon you.
Exactly, yes.
That
You're
makes
right.
it easier. So
Yeah, you're right. Good. So, yeah, a lot of English translations have something like this. Hazrat Isa, P-B-U-H. P-B-U-H is peace be upon him. P-B-U-H is peace be upon him. The Arabic is alayhi salam. And I guess one of the reasons we resort to these Arabic words is somehow that peace be upon him is like 4 words. Alayhi salam is just like 2. And somehow when Muslims, because Muslims are told to memorize the Quran, they actually, we learn how to read the Quran in Arabic when we are young. So every Muslim, it is his obligation to read the Quran in Arabic. So a lot of these words come out of that. And one of the ayat was, in fact, وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيَّ يَوْمَ وُلِدْتُ وَيَوْمَ أَمُوتُ وَيَوْمَ أُبْعَثُ حَيًّا. And this is Hazrat Isa alayhi salam saying that, and peace is upon me the day I was born, the day I will die, and the day I will raise up. So this is a phrase that has been given to a lot of people in fact. And this is a sense of honor that God himself is giving to people. I hope that answers the question. Yes?
Yes, I was wondering about something. It seems like there's a theme tonight about a kind of overlap between Christian religion of America and Unitarian. And as part of the 2 lectures that have been given in the series so far, I thought trouble understanding some of the basics about what the others do. I think it's fair to say that a lot of this I didn't realize about. For a lot of people who come from a Christian background. So we find it sort of surprising. My actual question is this. There's another sort of series.
There's sort of another train of thought in the world that's different from religion, that seems to be universal and easy to comprehend, which is scientific discipline. And so how is it, do you think, science succeeds around the world so well in communicating its theory? Whereas, why is it taking us so long in the religious community to even begin with the basics? What I mean, why is this kind of dialogue between Islam and Muslim belief and Christianity long overdue? And yet science, I don't know, seems crazy. How does that happen?
Is it an easy one, really? That's an easy one? So, okay, actually that's a good, the question the gentleman asked is, so you have this dialogue or this frame of reference, which is the religious reference, and then you suddenly have science which somehow negates that, or proposes an alternate solution, or proposes an alternate theory. And why is it that the science, and I think in the West, the science has in fact helped in the sense, not helped in the sense that it has degraded all sense of relevance. That's why over here you have, that's why over here you can basically walk anything and everything. Okay. I should tell you, this problem between science or religion is in fact, it's not an Eastern problem, it's more like a Western problem, in fact. There are Muslim scientists who are as religious, Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, algorithms came from Al-Khwarizmi. Khwarizmi was a Muslim. It was never a problem amongst Muslims, in fact. Being a Muslim and being a scientist was never a problem. I don't say I'm a scientist, I just know I fake one very well, okay? I fake myself to be a scientist very well. Universities buy that. Even journals end up publishing my stuff. I know that's bullshit. I mean, no, it's not on camera, it's amazing work. So the point is, for Muslims, this problem of science and religion probably never actually conflicted. We actually have the next lecture is on Allah, name and the that talks about God, that talks about science. I'll tell you something, and this is more about religion in particular and God in particular. Islam has nothing against, the only thing religion is against religion is particularly evolution. Okay, the principle of evolution, or the principle of this Big Bang theory, there are things you don't need, as Stephen Hawking said, you don't need, because there is the law of universal gravitation, you don't need God to have luck. I think something like this in the brief history of time, something like this is said of this nature. For Muslims' perspective, and that's why the next lecture is about Allah, names and the name. It's interesting because I know you must have seen some horror movies out there. In all these horror movies, there's this principle of, what do you call it in English? Taking demons out of someone. What is that called? Exorcism. Yes. So you have this principle of exorcism, and in one of these movies, it's very interesting. You see a guy who's on a stretcher, and this is important from a theological perspective. You will see a guy on a stretcher, and this guy definitely has demons in it or whatnot. And you see these like 10 people around him saying something, and this guy is reading something. Now, in the Judaic tradition, God reveals to himself with 10 or 12 or 13 different names. I should have known this. Like, with a few names. God refers to himself with a few number of names. And I don't know if you know this or not, all those people surrounding that individual, each person is responsible for recurring, reciting one of those names. So you have these 8 or 9 or 10 people, each of them is reciting the name of God, and the other person is reading something from, what is he reading from? Where in the Bible? Solomon. Does that ring a bell? Solomon, according to the Old Testament, had this power to control what?
Jinnah.
Genies.
Now I have to explain what jinn is, so I'm asking. Sorry?
Bad
Just
spirit.
bad spirit.
Bad spirits.
Or creatures even.
Or he could limit them. Or he could somehow get rid of them. And let me fast forward. Allah refers to himself. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. هو Allah, and Allah is Al-Khaliq, the one who creates, Al-Bari, the one who evolves, Al-Musawwir, the one who fashions. هو الخالق البارئ والمصور له ما في له ما هو الله الخالق البارئ والمصور له الأسماء الحسنى, and to him belong the most beautiful names. Whatever is in the heavens and the earth belongs to him. Now these are 3 names Allah is referring to himself, that Allah is the one who creates, who evolves and then fashions. For Muslims, evolution, actually I tell you, the whole concept of randomness is part of the Sharia, is part of Islamic law. It is practiced everywhere in all Muslim countries. One of the biggest gatherings of Muslims, one of the biggest gatherings in the world is on Hajj, in the day when Muslims perform Hajj, Muslims perform pilgrimage. Now you have these, Makkah is not like, you can't, I think last time there were like 2 to 3 million people. You can't have 100 million people in there. You can't actually. It's not a big place. And everybody has to do something in a particular way. In Pakistan alone, at least 10 or, Pakistan is 180 million people. Or maybe, I think by now, since
Now
200. Probably 210 million. So there's a bunch of stuff there. Maybe a bunch of people there. You have at least 10 to 15 million people applying for Hajj every year. Saudi Arabia can't give visas to 10 million. They can't have Hajj specifically for people from Pakistan. It only happens at a particular day. It only happens at a particular time. All Muslims are invited. So what they do, and this is law, this is Islamic law. Islamic law states that if 2 people have equal right on one thing, but you can only give it to one of them, you can flip a coin. You can decide by flipping a coin. If both of you have only one cookie and only one of you can eat it, or one of you is allowed to have it, you can decide it by flipping a coin. So when they give out visas for Hajj, for pilgrimage, they actually draw lots. But,
So the lottery is allowed in Islam?
no, not lottery, not allowed, but I'm saying the principle of randomness. There is a principle of randomness which is embedded in Islamic law. But here's the question. Let me ask you this. If God has ordained for you death tomorrow, or let me ask you this. If the whole world wants to harm you, but God doesn't want any harm for you, can somebody harm you? No? If the whole world wants to come to benefit you, but Allah has not written any benefit for you, can anyone benefit you? No. If you are expected, if you are ordained, if it's written for you to die tomorrow, which is Saturday. I think it's convenient, right? You have Sunday, you have Thursday, you're on, you have enough people. I hope not, but point is, if Allah has ordained for you death tomorrow, can you live until Sunday?
No.
So, there is randomness, but Allah is in the mix. That's what Islamic belief is. There is randomness, but Allah is in the mix. And Islam does not shy, okay, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. I am a computational biologist. I am an electrical engineer, but my PhD is in computational biology. We develop statistical models and Bayesian models of biological processes. So evolution is something, as an electrical engineer, as a computational biologist, we don't shy away from. So I'm not saying I know this stuff, I'm saying I just happen to know a little more. Okay? What I'm saying is, yes, there is evolution, but it doesn't, and that's why Adam was a very tall man, was a very broad man, but now we are not as tall as him. Okay? There is this sense of evolution, but Allah is in the mix. That sense of randomness has a sense of control which is extraordinary. And how I will explain it, I'll give you a simple example. Your body has an entire ecosystem of bacteria in your stomach. Anything that you eat has an effect on your health because of that ecosystem. It's called, I don't know, I was writing a paper this the other day. It's called the microbiome. That's the group of bacteria in your body. Anything that you eat has an effect on the bacteria. The bacteria ecosystem completely has a complete relationship on the gene regulatory network. The gene regulatory network has a complete system on the cells of the body. Your body is so, and I should tell you, until 15 years, we didn't know there was a microbiome. Until 15 years, we didn't know what a microbiome. Your body is so damn complicated that there is randomness, but the sense of control that exists is absolutely exemplary.
There is one question that about this, that once Jesus will come again, so will he rule even the Muslims or everyone, or what? Like,
That is a good question.
yeah.
My understanding, not a very good understanding. Yeah, I think he'll rule the whole world,
Okay.
which includes Muslims and non-Muslims.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, you're right. So, as the lady mentioned, so once Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will come again, he will himself clarify every problem and then everybody will believe.
Especially when they kill the Antichrist.
Especially when they kill the Antichrist. The killing the Antichrist is the key. Getting rid of Antichrist is the key. But going back to the sense of theology versus science, Islam never had a problem against theology. Actually, I just got to know recently, when the French Revolution came, they just didn't kill the nobles, they killed everyone. They killed the nuns, they killed the priests, they killed the fathers, they killed the whole church thing. They actually killed everyone. So having this problem of West and evolution, this is a completely Western thing, because Allah refers to Himself as the one who creates, the one who evolves, and the one who fashions. And the sense of randomness is part, in fact, it is part of Islamic law. The example that I gave you is practiced everywhere in the world. It's part of Islamic law. But Allah is in the mix. If Allah has written for me that I'm supposed to go for Hajj, I'll find a way to get there. If Allah has written for me that I'm supposed to die in San Antonio, let me rephrase that. If Allah has ordained for a person X to die in San Antonio, that person X will find a way to go to San Antonio. Okay? So there is a sense of randomness, but Allah is in the mix. And that is a fundament, actually, that is a part of Muslim belief. So for Muslims, science has never been a problem. And that's my understanding. And I'm not a scholar. So don't quote me on that. But that's my understanding.
So do we have any further questions? Like,
Do you have any further questions? The question is why don't we draw Jesus Christ? Or why don't we draw Mary? Why don't we draw Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? In fact, let me put it this way. There are people that have seen Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their dreams. And these people, this is what they tell. They say that nobody has been ever more beautiful than him. But let me put it this way. Muslims do not worship Prophet Muhammad. We do not worship him. We worship Allah. Muslims believe in Prophet Muhammad as the last prophet and messenger, but we do not worship him. Sorry? Or any other prophet. We don't worship any other prophet. One of the reasons that has been made possible is because we don't draw pictures, we don't make idols, we don't do anything of that nature. Okay? Let me tell you this. As a Muslim, you have to believe there are 124,000 prophets that came on this earth. Only a few of them have been mentioned in the Quran. Okay, so we know these are exactly prophets. Only a few of them mentioned. All of them were pious people, all of them came with miracles, all of them were extraordinary beings. What did we do to them? What did we do to them? Once these individuals are, for God's sake, how many people do you know have separated the river Nile into two? How many people do you know have done that? Can you name two? Can you name one? Moses. Has anybody ever separated the river Nile into two? I don't know, probably not. Okay, probably not. All these individuals had a purpose. They weren't like doing these miracles or magic to score women or to have money. They were actually doing it for a particular purpose, and the purpose element was beyond them. What Muslims believe, and this is important, all of these prophets of God did miracles because they were given these qualities or characteristics by Allah. They had a purpose, and that fulfills the purpose. But, and that is where not drawing picture comes into play. When these people died, what happened? You made pictures, they ended up elevating to God. I'll give you the example of this guy. What is Zeus? I'm not saying Zeus is a prophet of God. Who is Zeus? Do you know who is Zeus? He is a Greek god. This is a guy who's muscular, who's handsome, who can throw lightning bolts. What happened to him? Let's assume, hypothetically, let's assume that he was the Greek mythology is very twisted. Probably not a good example. The point is, this guy, look at him. What does he look like? He was Greek. Look at him. He has a white tone. He's Greek. He has supernatural powers and he throws lightning bolts. And he's a very muscular guy. He's Greek. Let's look at another example. I think we have one of these guys in the room. Who is this guy? Who is this lady in the room? Osiris. We have a lady in the room by that. Who is Osiris? Or let me give you the first example. Ra. Who is Ra? He's an Egyptian god. What does he look like? He's a human being. He's very Egyptian in nature, and all the Egyptian gods have that quality. This is a guy. He's literally the sun god. He is the head of an eagle. The eagle soars up very high. The eagle has perfect eyesight. It can actually see at the bottom, dive down, get its prey. That's why the head is that of an eagle. Sorry, I have a TV there. So maybe this is where okay. So this is what Ra is. And he's very Egyptian. He's very Egyptian. Let's talk about some other god. Osiris. Osiris was the son. The son daughter of the sun god, which is Ra. He's very Egyptian. I'll give you another example. Mithra. Look at him. Look at this guy. Mithra is a Persian god. And he's very well built. He's this extraordinary individual who's holding lions. That guy, he's manhandling a lion. That's what Mithra is. And he was a Persian god. He was a Persian god. I'll give you another example.
So why we are not making them portraying the picture?
I'll give you another example before we finish. I think this will be the last example. Not this.
Yeah, it seems to have some Bollywood guys. Might be a godfather.
Okay, look at this example. Okay, I'll change this guy's example. Shiva. Okay, this guy
Indian.
is the Hindu god. The sun, and it's interesting I mentioned, the sun, the sun has been worshipped for a long time. The sun was worshipped in Egypt by the name of Ra. The sun was worshipped in Persia by the name of Mitra. The sun was worshipped by the name of Surya. I mean, that guy is a Hollywood guy, but you'll eventually find the sun Indian god. Okay? If you look at them, and so the sun has always been worshipped. If you look at the Indian god, like Shiva is not the sun god, but the point is, Shiva looks Indian. He has the color blue, but he looks Indian. He looks Indian. As a Muslim, it is our belief that 124,000 prophets came on this earth. They came at different times, and a couple of them came at the same time as well, at the same location as well. They all were honest, pure people. All of them, they were all honest and pure people. Some of them had miracles. Not all of them have been mentioned in the Holy Books. The Holy Books is not a book of history. Okay, it's not a chronological book. The point is, it delivers the message. Muslims make it a point not to draw any prophet. Let me tell you this. Because if you draw, you end up making them God. That's the problem. All of them, you look at any other God that you see, all of them are human, either men or women. All of them had supernatural powers. All of them were honest people, all of them were pure people, all of them were the purest of all souls, and all of them perform miracles. These are your God-like individuals. But if you start drawing them, you end up making them gods. And this has been going on since centuries. This has been going on since the very beginning. Muslims make it a point not to draw prophets of God. And I should tell you this. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is more beloved to Muslims than their own fathers, than their own mothers, than their own brothers, than their own sisters, than even their own country. Prophet Muhammad is more beloved to Muslims than their own children or father or mother. So if anybody says anything to Prophet Muhammad, if let's say non-Muslims say, we can't reply back because like if a Christian says something bad about Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are going to say bad about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam? I mean, we love him, and we can't say anything about him. Muslims love Prophet Muhammad, and this is, I'm being very honest here, they love him more than their mother or father or brother or sister or their own countries. I'm from Pakistan. I mean, what is Pakistan for me compared to Prophet? I'm not a dual citizen, I'm not an American citizen, I'm actually only Pakistani, okay? But what is Pakistan to me compared to Prophet Muhammad? Nothing. But we will draw, because if we start drawing him, if we start making idols of him, we'll end up worshipping him. He'll become a god for us. Look at all the gods, they're human. They all have beautiful stories, they all have supernatural powers, but they all became gods.
Which they are not.
They're not. That's why we make it a point in this entire, only because you asked this question, I've ended up showing these pictures. Otherwise look at this entire slide. I'm scrolling through this. Do you see any picture? There's only a rose when it comes to Mary. I only thought it was befitting for her. But do you see any picture? No. You don't draw pictures of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam, Hazrat anybody. You just don't draw pictures. Because if you do, one of the first gods Muslims are going to make they're going to make Prophet Muhammad a god, and he's not. That's why one of the hadiths that has been narrated has made it very clear, do not praise me like the children of, there was this point is, history bears witness to Because God, Muslims believe, has been sending prophets. The whole point of prophets was to guide people. But when you draw their pictures, when you draw idols of them, you end up making them wrong. That's all. And that's why Muslims make it a point. That's why Muslims had a protest when they showed this movie, the last, I keep on forgetting it, The Last Temptation of Christ. It's not just when you make pictures of Prophet Muhammad, they get angry. They get angry when you guys make bad pictures of Prophet Moses even. Because we make it a point. Because we don't want our tradition to allow that. I mean, what is Mughal history? 800 years old, so what? Yes.
So movies like the Prince of Egypt, or say that would they be considered
Prince of Egypt?
It's about Moses.
that's about the story of
I have not seen that movie. Yeah, we're almost over. So we're just going through the question and answer session. I have not seen the Prince of Egypt, but generally the rule amongst Muslims is we don't draw prophets of God, we don't make them idols. And even, I should tell you, the Supreme Court of the US actually has a depiction of Prophet Muhammad. Because the Supreme Court of the US believes that one of the biggest lawgivers in history of mankind is Prophet Muhammad. We don't like that. They do it as a sense of honor. We consider it blasphemous. It's hard to explain to them, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. But they end up still doing it.
It's a little bit off what you're talking about, but I think it's kind of related. And I'm going to say comment and then ask a question because it's connected. The comment is because my father is Muslim, my mom is Jewish. In Islam, Allah is God. But if you're in the Middle East and you're Christian, God is Allah too. Yet so many people in the United States say, oh, well, you worship Allah. Allah is the one God of all the three Abrahamic religions. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that. We might come by different paths or have a different belief about the history. But Allah means the God of all those prophets that you're talking about. And there was a word, and I don't remember it because it's in Arabic, but it's that now we know kafir, it's been misused by South Africans. But if you're an unbeliever, so you are a pantheist, then you're a kafir. but
It's their fault. I agree.
no, it's the white South Africans. But my question was, there's a word that if you're a believer, I'm not trying to be like inclusive or exclusive of anybody, but there is a word in Islam that if you believe in the holy books, period, if you, that's the word. Okay, so if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, there's something that connects them all and connects their destiny.
So I think that's a very good comment. So the word Allah, I should tell you, from Pakistan, then Christians in Pakistan use the word Allah for God. Christians use the word Allah in Arabic. Actually, I'll tell you this. If you open up the Arabic translation of the Bible, you would see the word Allah all over it. In Arabic, you would see the word Allah all over it. Jews use the word Allah for God, Christians use the word Allah for God, Muslims use the word Allah for God. And we refer to Him because that is Allah is the name that He refers to Himself. He has many names that describe Him, but Allah is, you could say, His supreme name in which He refers to Himself. So Muslims make a point to refer to God as Allah, but Christians and Jews use the word Allah all the time. And in Quran, in fact, Jews are referred and Christians are referred to as Ahle Kitab. And people of the book, people of the book. So that's an honorable title.
Along with Muslims?
No, Muslims are referred to Muslims.
But no, what I'm saying,
As far as I know, Jews and Christians are referred to as Ahle Kitab.
I
People
learned
of
it
the
in
book.
English, in Islamic school in English, but yes.
So any question? Last question.
Or comments.
Last. Yes.
If you are born in those countries, India, Pakistan, and the other place,
Yeah, you're by default handsome. Okay? All in those countries, you're just handsome. I agree. So,
are you allowed to have different beliefs?
so I should tell you, I should tell you. Let me tell you about myself. I was a born Muslim, but I'm a Muslim for only because I feel that Allah has put within my heart the love of Prophet Muhammad, the love of his masjid, and the love of the Quran. As a Muslim, there is an ayat in the Quran that says, La ikraha fid deen. And it goes, it goes continuously. It says very clearly there is no compulsion in religion. La ikraha fid deen means there is no compulsion in religion. Allah does mention, and let me ask you this. Those people to whom Hazrat Isa alayhi salam came and they disbelieved in him and they tried to kill him, do you think they're going to heaven or hell? They're going to hell. Let me ask you this question. People to whom Musa alayhi salam came, Moses came, and they tried to kill him, they tried to get rid of him, they disbelieved in him. Do you think they're going to heaven or hell? Hell. I'm not saying this, he's saying this. This guy can easily be found at Wednesday at 5:30 in my class. You can get him, okay? Okay. There is no compulsion in religion. Muslims, however, and then the ayah continues. It is better for you to believe in Allah and Prophet Muhammad, and Muslims have the same belief. I mean, I want to say, I can sugarcoat it, I can present it in a beautiful way, but Muslims have the same belief. Prophet, the worst sin you can do is say that God is not one. That's the worst thing you can do for Muslims. And Allah refers to it over and over and over and over and over again. That the worst thing you can do is say there is no one, there is not one God, there are many, or there are two, or you can say as many as you want. That's the worst thing you can do. So Muslims do, so there is no compulsion in religion. In Pakistan, yes, there are non-Muslims, there are people who are becoming atheists, there are people who are agnostics, like everywhere else.